Sup guys, Alchemir and THQ Nordic have resurrected Gothic, a prison colony where everyone is poor, armed and one dialogue option away from attempted murder. Hopefully this time, the family tree ends before Arcania. So what actually makes Gothic Gothic? Developer described it like this. The game is set in a prison colony where inmates treat each other roughly, prisoners threaten, extort and attack one another, fights are often rough and personal rather than cinematic, and characters are hit, there are blood splatter effects, impact sounds and painkillers. But every fight with another human has consequences. Technically correct. A more accurate description would be that Gothic is a social economic prison simulator where you arrive with no money, no weapons, no social status and approximately 12 minutes before somebody tries to scam you. You then spend the next several hours beating the hell out of every prisoner you meet, everything that isn't physically nailed to the ground, and min-maxing your character so hard that the laws of nature eventually stop applying to you. To start, a young scavenger, the weakest enemy in the game, can kill you. And you're either chugging 20 health potions in the middle of combat or taking absolutely no damage because you upgraded your armor so hard that you became a walking tank with 2 legs. The strongest weapon you can get early in chapter 1 or some other late game weapon and start one-shotting enemies that used to send you back to the loading screen in 2 hits. Their progression system is basically this. Beaten unconscious by some random guard, remember his face, or let Big D
Nie traciłbym czasu na zadawanie się z szaleńcami.
tell you who it was 5 seconds later. You spend the next 10 hours trying to become slightly less pathetic. My first instinct was to reject all manual labor and dedicate myself to violence. This turned out to be a union violation.
Seems I've got to teach you some manners.
So instead, you become the colony's designated water boy, delivering water to rice farmers who are already standing in water, because the man sitting 5 meters away is apparently too busy sitting. At that point, I began to picture my future, working full-time in hydration logistics for the intellectually disabled. Then I return to the old camp and get beaten up by diggers, because I forgot to pay my protection money. What a beautiful society. Eventually you discover that the guard who gave you the motivational love tap at the start has been abusing one of the women in the camp, and being the obligatory inner white knight and defender of women rights that you obviously are, you decide that justice must be served.
So what do you say? Am I striking this brute down?
Due to my geographical position, I am legally obliged to tell you that no woman was harmed in this video, and the scene was made by AI. The schmuck who wrote that prompt has been put into prison because I love every woman equally. Okay, I really hope we cut that from the script. How do we avenge the poor, helpless single mother of 2, currently receiving absolutely no or in child support? Simple. Zyra has already done the reconnaissance. Fuck this word. Reconnaissance for us.
That said, I know he goes on these long walks every night, always alone, always with a bottle of schnapps. If there's any chance for you to do this, then that's it.
Got it. I'll be discreet.
So we approach him heroically, challenge him to single combat in the name of women rights, and immediately get folded. We leave him alive for now, not out of mercy, but because revenge has some attribute requirements. After another brief training session, we return and put him into a light sleep, but we do not kill him yet. Also, I do not like killing named NPCs this early. They might still have quests, dialogue and some rewards. So, with Bullet temporarily unconscious, he can no longer take a liking to Zyra. I would say White Knight justice has prevailed to the power of blunt force trauma. And what is our reward for helping the woman? She gets betrayed by her own female friends and killed anyway. Good riddance. Another successful humanitarian intervention. Women are really nice to each other, even inside the colony. At that point, the moral justification had expired. This was now a privately funded revenge campaign against Bullet, financed entirely through experience points. So we begin by liquidating his entire social circle. The diggers receive early retirement. The shadows become considerably less visible, and the guards are relieved of duty permanently. Eventually, the old camp becomes a gated community without the community. And only then do we return to Bullet. The man who once beat us unconscious and baptized us now survives exactly one left click. And maybe killing him at the start would have been more efficient. But hell yeah, efficiency does not produce a satisfying character arc. So imagine being thrown into a Soviet gulag populated almost entirely by men, divided between 3 rival Discord servers where the currency is radioactive blue rocks. Every second person is either trying to recruit you, rob you, or joining a cult that sells you drugs. Your objective is supposedly to escape. Your actual objective is to become so overpowered that you send an orcish god back to where the hell he ever came. Okay, history lesson. After this longest intro, it is time for a little history about Gothic. Get your pens and paper out and take some notes. The original developer was a German studio, Piranha Bytes, which blessed or cursed us with several games built around the same sacred formula. First there was Gothic, then Gothic 2, then Gothic 3, then several other Gothic-like games were released. The Gothic 1 remake, however, was developed by Alchemar Interactive, a new studio based in Spain. THQ Nordic effectively formed the studio to handle Remake, and you heard it right, a Spanish developer team was placed in charge of remaking one of Germany's most sacred, holy culture artifact. This is the equivalent of giving the Spanish government control over the production of Volkswagen. Gameplay. Okay, let's talk about the basics first. In Gothic you have 4 basic stats: strength, dexterity, health and mana. Strength and dexterity are increased by spending learning points at your local gym buddy. Both stats are needed to wield certain weapons. Melee weapons have strength requirements, while bows and crossbows have dexterity requirements. Mana is needed for casting spells, because every spell has a mana cost. Now you might ask, how do I get those learning points? It is pretty simple. You kill stuff and complete quests. Every time you level up, you get 10 learning points. So your basic gameplay loop works as follows. Explore the colony, reduce the local wildlife population, beat this annoying shit. Inspect the art of the colony, reduce the inmate population, collect their ore and belongings, let him live, and listen him out. And realize he's annoying as fuck. Break into every chest using the greatest lockpicking minigame ever created, enjoy the local band music, sell everything to merchants who gradually offer you less and less money because you have already sold them the same rusty sword 20 times, fill your stomach with the local cuisine, go to sleep, have weird dreams about this annoying shit. While doing all of this, you also focus on the game's second most important activity, completing quests and following the main story. Almost everything you do rewards experience points, which are the most valuable resource in the entire game. Ore can be earned again, items can be bought, people can sometimes be replaced. I mean, look at the skeleton, how he is cleaning the tower so slowly and gradually, but experience is finite. There are few enemy respawns even before a new chapter begins, therefore the correct order of importance is first experience points, then unique items, then ore, then human life, and then everything else. I mean, they are all criminals anyway. Do not waste your sympathy on some random schmuck who got thrown into the colony for stealing Camel cigarettes from the nearest Ostmarket or Żabka. By the way, when you kill a named character, their status is shown as deceased in your journal. By the end of the game, you will have more dead names in your journal than a suspicious historical spreadsheet. And did I mention this game has smithing and alchemy and inscription? You can purchase raw materials, transform them into weapons, potions or magical scrolls, and then sell the finished products back to the same merchant for stacks of of war. You repeat this until every trader in the colony owns 60 identical swords, enough healing potions to survive the apocalypse, and absolutely no remaining currency. Let's get to the combat system. In the Gothic 1 remake, just like in the original, you can choose between 3 basic playstyles. You can become a melee warrior who specializes in either one-handing or two-handing weapons, an archer who uses bows and crossbows, or a mage who gently tickles enemies with the force of creation. Mages do, however, have access to a wide variety of utility and damage spells. These can be casted through permanent runes or consumable scrolls, and scrolls are where the system becomes completely ridiculous. Scrolls do not require you to learn the corresponding circle of magic, which are needed to cast spells from runes, so you basically just need enough mana to cast them. This also applies to some of the most powerful spells in the game. This means you only need to find or buy a scroll from the nearest Polish merchant or learn how to craft it yourself. Like my father always used to say, Господин моя сын, слушай, making it yourself is always cheaper. Деньги важнее сващения. Because you have to understand, spell damage is fixed and does not scale with your mana. So, you can be some random schmuck quest, never studied magic in his life, put on a few enchanted rings, an amulet, and immediately start summoning forces beyond human comprehension or casting apocalyptic spells. I love this game. So you can also invest learning points into weapon skills such as one-handed combat and two-handed combat, as well as in bows and crossbows. As these skills improve, the attacks the hero performs become more smoother and the combinations are more, how do I say it? They become more fluent, you know, you have like a flow, and this becomes like gradually better. So like when you have like ranged weapons, you reload your bow faster and shoot faster and obviously deal more damage. And there's a next thing I want to talk about, and that's this. Range or archery is arguably one of the most strongest playstyles because it allows you to chase a large number of enemies from a safe distance. You can just kite them, and before I forgot to mention it, you can block, parry, dodge, and you can block animal attacks in the remake now too, unlike in the OG. This makes melee a bit more reliable. This is a min-max game. You should actually think about which camp you want to join later on and which skills you want to focus on. You can't just become a godlike melee fighter, archer, and a mage all at the same time. Almost all skills are useful and are worth to learn, except pickpocketing and lockpicking. Pickpocketing gives you, for 10 or 30 learn points, basically 100 ore. Especially when you can do cool shit like this, the dream of every Romanian. Well, lockpicking on the other hand can just be solved with mods, because I'm not gonna solve there a mathematically slight puzzle where even Einstein himself would uninstall the game just to get one wheel of cheese, a water bottle, and an empty bottle of lube. 3 camps and characters. You have 3 main camps: the old camp, the new camp, and the swamp camp. The old camp is basically divided in 3 social classes. You got the diggers, shadows, and guards. At the bottom are the diggers, who dig ore. In the middle are the shadows. I don't know what the fuck they're doing, they just exist. And at the top you got the guards, who just collect protection money from everybody who's joining the camp. I call this good political order. At least we got the local chef, Snuff, who keeps me happy with his meat bucks too. He's the only person in the entire colony I can truly rely on. And before I forget, we also have the fire mages, who mostly are in the monastery. Then we got the new camp, and the new camp has a bar, and that's basically the most important thing you need to know. It also has bandits, mercenaries, diggers, and water mages. Damn, we didn't have enough mages already, but they are generally pretty chill. The entire camp spends most of the time drinking żywiec, eating kalbasa and smoking zaza. And then we have the last camp, the swamp camp. That's this entire religious group of fanatics. Instead of mining ore like the people in the other 2 camps, they spend their time collecting swamp weed and selling it later on the black market. The local merchant even gave me free samples when I arrived. Make sure they keep coming back. And like Like the idiot I was, I fell for
Here
it.
for my
I tried
daily
it
ration.
once and
Here you
wanted
go.
immediately
3
more,
black
and I kept
sages.
returning and
Don't smoke them all at
returning.
once,
I
though.
was trapped in my addiction and couldn't break out anymore. I became a Berlin crack addict. Also, they worship a god called the Sleeper, a deity they presumably invented after consuming far too many of their own samples and started speaking to them.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم حميم والكتاب المبين إنا.
So the camp has novices who collect the wheat, Baals who are your local preachers, and Templars who are basically the sword of the sleeper. In the colony you will have 4 friends. First you've got Diego from the old camp. He's your first friendly contact in the colony and basically your guide.
Dot. This list can't fall into the hands of the new camp. As I said, it's a very important list. If you jerk off, you'll go far here.
We've got Gorn from the new camp, who has aggression problems. I wonder how that guy ended up in prison. I guess the judges had some bias in their judgment. We've got Milton, the fire mage. He's a little soft soy boy. You can literally beat this man up, and he still follows you around like a e-kitten that you called the most vile shit ever, and still calls you daddy afterwards. I don't know if that's loyalty or Stockholm syndrome. And then we've got Lester from the swamp camp, who likes to smoke, and that's about it. And now, finally, we come to the one and only, and the one whose name should not be spoken. The legend himself, the demon summoner. I meant Xardas. Xardas. His name is Xardas. This man lives alone in a cursed tower, summons demons for recreation, and somehow he still acts like he is a reasonable adult in the room. Well, and of course, you don't visit him in like a normal tower. No, you visit him in his second tower, his private tower of necromancy, complete with demon icons, skeleton decor, forbidden books, and interior design choices that legally require an investigation. Well, you may ask now, what happened to his first tower then? Well, it got destroyed. Official story, natural earthquake. Sure, very natural, very geological. You think that a magic tower just gets simply destroyed by a natural earthquake. But later I found some trusted leaked documents that revealed it was actually one of the orcs who allegedly cast a spell that made an airplane crash into his tower. I guess you could say he didn't finish his job entirely, if you know what I mean. Quests. The first 3 chapters are peak Gothic. You got a lot of interesting quests, and some offer various solutions to solve them. Sadly, chapter 4 to 6 are noticeably weaker and suffer from the classic Dark Souls 1 problem. The second half is far less polished than the first. World design. The colony is not enormous, but almost every location has a purpose. By the end of the game, you no longer need a map. You know every road, shortcut, and merchant, still wealthy enough to buy your 47 identical swords. It stops feeling like a game world and starts feeling like home. A violent, drug-infested prison home, but nonetheless home. New content. The remake also introduces several important innovations. You can ride a scavenger, learn hand-to-hand combat from an MMA fighter, and experience completely new quests. Sound and synchronization. The atmosphere is as beautiful as ever. The English dub has improved considerably to the OG.
You knew that guy?
Not anymore.
You're too late for that. I've already found it.
While the German version has lost some of the original charm.
Ich denke, es war einfach zu viel.
Haben wir alle das Gleiche gesehen?
Hey, du.
Wer, ich?
Nein, ich meine deine Großmutter. Natürlich meine ich dich.
Russian and Polish still sound excellent.
И как они сегодня? Хорошо, что ты спросил. Вибрации вибрируют великолепно, друг мой. Просто великолепно.
Czekaj chwilę. I jak się dzisiaj mają te wibracje?
O, jak miło, że pytasz. Wspaniale wibrują, mój przyjacielu.
Playing the original in English used to result in immediate abduction by the German, Polish and Russian mafia. Gaming truly unites nations. Bugs. Install a few mods like lockpicking, save often, and never finish a quest too early because the game may wait 10 hours before revealing that you just locked yourself out of the best armor. Story. King Roba turns the Valley of Mines into a magical Soviet gulag because he needs ore for his war against the orcs. You are thrown inside for a crime nobody bothers to explain, and your name is...
Я аллигатор Джек.
minutes. Then you get welcomed with a punch in the face and forced to join one of the 3 competing prison gangs. From there, everyone introduces themselves, explains their complicated political agenda, and sends you across the colony to collect increasingly important garbage. The swamp camp tries to summon its god and discovers that the sleeper is actually an orc demon. The water mages want to blow up the barrier. The old camp responds to economic instability with liberating the new mine for oil, ore, and Xardas sends you towards an ancient temple. Eventually you find a magical sword, steal the water mage's entire retirement fund to recharge it, and reduce the remaining plot to its essential components. You banish the sleeper, the barrier collapses, every prisoner is finally free, and your reward for saving everyone is being buried underneath several thousand tons of temple. Conclusion: they changed a lot, but somehow kept the Gothic spirit. It is basically the original game, just prettier. The only thing they completely ruined was the original artwork and some characters. Shit game. Jokes aside, I highly recommend it. But wait for more patches, install a few mods, and save frequently. It is rough, atmospheric, immersive, annoying, beautiful, broken, and addictive at the same time. Fitting description for women. Great game. Thanks for watching till the end, and ciao.